So today we're going to be spending some more time in the Doom Dungeon. This is the place where everything ends up in the house that doesn't really have a home, or I really just don't know what to do with it. Now, this place used to be a lot worse than it is. I'll show you some pictures in just a minute of what it used to look like on a regular basis. And I think sometimes I have to remind myself of just how bad it used to be before I put a lot of time and energy into getting it much better. But it's still the place that a lot of things ends up, and we just swapped our bedrooms. I will link that video up in the corner if you'd like to check that out at some point. But because we switched our bedrooms, one of our kids was staying down here in the bedroom for a couple of weeks, and then some of the other random things ended up down here. It's also the place where our laundry is, our extra cleaning supplies, our extra pantry. So there's a lot going on in this small space, and it tends to get very cluttered very quickly. Also, it's not all finished. So I think a lot of time and energy just doesn't go into keeping it maintained. So throughout the week, I took a couple of hours coming down in probably like an hour a day just to tackle some of the mess and make it a little bit better. Now, this is what it used to look like. And I just have a couple of pictures, but I do have a lot of videos on my channel going back and doing the basement. So if you'd like to check any of those out, if you have a basement that looks anything like mine, it might be able to give you a little bit of motivation in how you can get it cleaned up. So on this day, my goal was just to really come down and try to get rid of some of the trash. The kids tend to come down and finish up boxes and just leave the empty boxes. So just coming down and getting rid of all of the obvious trash, made a huge difference in just clearing up the space a little bit. Also putting away some of the groceries that I had in boxes, just getting those put away, again, just cleaned up the space a bit. When the spaces in my house start to get this cluttered and messy, it really is incredibly overwhelming for me. I just don't want to spend that much energy anymore putting all of this stuff away. In the upstairs of the house, in the kitchen, living room, bathroom, and bedrooms, I have been able to successfully declutter enough times where the spaces are very easy to maintain and they're very easy to clean. They obviously still get messy sometimes, but it's easier to pick up and clean around everything. But the basement is not an area that I've been able to successfully do that in yet. Now, like I said, it is a lot better than it used to be. But last summer, my son moved out. Our oldest son moved out. So we're using this room. I really would like to turn this into more of a storage room. That's my end goal, but we have to wait until the spring because we've had a lot of flooding in the basement. So I really just want to take it day by day. And like I said, this first day was about getting rid of the obvious trash. And then my second goal was to declutter the obvious things that I wanted to get rid of. So kind of following Dana K. White's solutions is to get rid of the trash and then just go through the donations and declutter all of those things. For the longest time, I had so many blankets and sheets, and I kept them all in Tupperwares, thinking that we would need them at some point. But really, every bed in the house has one set of sheets, and that has been perfectly fine because in all reality, I wash the bedding and then I put it right back onto the bed. What we do need extras of is blankets because when the kids have friends over, I like to be able to give them a nice, warm, comfortable blanket to sleep with. Also, if we were to lose power, we do live in an area that gets very cold in the winter. I would like to have some extra blankets. And then again, my dog uses blankets on the couch, so we like to rotate those when they're being washed. This bucket here was one that I've had for many years, and it was filled with all kinds of craft supplies that the kids used to use when they were doing projects in school. And I just kept holding on to it thinking, well, I mean, it's here, it's not taking up a ton of space, we can just keep it. But really, we didn't need any of the stuff in there. I was actually able to pull out just a couple of things and keep those in the extra bin where I have the school supplies. So just some notebooks, crayons, colored pencils that the kids need to use for school. So if they have to replenish any of those items for school, I know where to get them. But all of the rest of the stuff really was just trash. I thought about donating it, but it'd been in there for years. It was like construction paper and just all kinds of random craft supplies that are just not needed. It was all loose. I just didn't feel like I should donate that, so I did end up throwing it away. And then we have a couple of glue guns, and there was a bunch of loose glue sticks, so I just threw those into one bag. That way, if we do need to use it for anything, I can find it easily. So in case you haven't watched any of my other videos, just a little bit about me is I started prepping around 2020. I just kind of went really overboard with a lot of things. And so I'm still dealing with the consequences of that. And I'm really trying to work more towards minimalism. And like I said, in the upstairs area of the house, I have really been able to achieve that. And now we're slowly just working on getting our home how we want it. We do live in a small home. It's my husband, myself, and we have 3 boys. As I said, my oldest recently moved out. Now he is planning to come back in December. We're super excited to have him home for a couple of weeks. So my goal is to try to get this room back into shape, at least enough for him to be comfortable here for a couple of weeks. It's not going to be perfect, but we should at least be able to get it to a point where he's comfortable staying here. As I said, we're using it a lot for storage, but after getting a lot of the trash picked up and getting some of the items back into their homes, like these suitcases here, we bought those for vacation over the summer, and I ended up putting the kids' suitcases in their rooms under their beds just to get them out of here. And then my husband and I left in here for now. And those will probably stay in here. Eventually, I would like to get some shelving and things like that to get everything up off the floor and looking nice. But for right now, that's just not possible. So my goal was to get rid of all of the empty boxes that were just holding items that we could just kind of get rid of to make a little bit more space, get things up off the floor onto the shelves, and make the room a little bit more presentable. And I'm really just getting tired of coming down and doing this over and over again. So I think going forward, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm ready to let go of. Now, the plan, like I said, is to get some shelving up. So I do want to hold on to some things, knowing that I'll be able to organize them in the future. But other things, I am just tired of moving around. I'm tired of putting them into piles or little collections everywhere and then having to go back through them at a later date. So I'm really just trying to keep only what I want to keep and then trying to find some organization for those later. Now, this is a Tupperware full of photo albums that I've gotten over the years. Obviously, they're ones from when I was a kid that my parents had. There's some of my husband's of there, and then there's some that we've collected over the years. So I just don't know what to do with things like those that I do want to keep, but I just don't really have a lot of storage in the house for them. If you have a lot of spaces in your house that are really cluttered and you haven't had a chance yet to go through everything, I would really just suggest going through them in shorter periods of time if you get overwhelmed. Even 10-15 minutes a day really and truly does make a huge difference if you're very focused and you work on small areas at a time. So even downstairs, I have a lot of things like in boxes or containers that even if I had just 10 minutes to go through and empty out, it would still make a huge difference, and it is worth it. I used to think that if I was going to do something like this, I would have to take hours of my time, and that is just not true. I've gotten a lot of the house done in shorter periods of time more frequently. When I first started, the entire house was just filled. It filled to the brim. Every area, every corner, every cabinet drawer was completely stuffed with stuff, along with the counter space, the floor. So I really think that when I first started, I did too much too fast, and I really burnt myself out. So on this day, this is where I ended it. I spent about an hour down here, and we are going to come back. You're going to see another day that I came back down for a little bit less than an hour, but even just in an hour, I was able to make a pretty big difference just cleaning up some of the trash. And I got rid of a huge black trash bag of donations and then just some recycling. I also wanted to show you really quickly because I put up so few things now for decorations. I really wanted to take everything down in the house to have a couple of weeks with nothing up. I do put out a lot more for Christmas time decorations, but I really just wanted just a couple of weeks where I didn't have to focus on cleaning around everything and I could just really do like a deep clean until we put up all the Christmas stuff. Now, when I first started this, I had maybe 6 or 7 bins of fall and Halloween decorations, and now I'm able to fit everything onto one countertop. And I did end up getting rid of 2 signs, the sign that you see there, and then one that I had in the bathroom. I actually ended up decluttering those. I just don't really like them anymore, and I'm not going to put them up next year. So even when you're taking down your decorations, you can still go through and see what you really didn't love at the time when it was up, and then you can get rid of it. Here is everything. Now I can have a couple of weeks where we really don't have too much around the house before I put up all of the Christmas decorations. I think it'll just be nice to have a little bit of calm before all of the craziness again. Okay, so now this is a different day that I'm coming back down this week that I just wanted to get a few more things done. And it's simple things like this, like the box there. My husband moved downstairs to play his video games instead of being in the living room. So we had that box there that the monitor came in. It just had to be recycled. Here's a few other things that my son had left when he moved out. A lot of them are things that I had bought him over the years for his car, but when he moved, he didn't take a car because he's living in a bigger city. So things like that I ended up giving to my husband if he wanted for his car. And then there's a few things that my son did want. So I told him I would keep him there. He can go through them all when he comes back next month and take what he wants with him, or we can keep them here. Either way, it doesn't matter. But just taking a few minutes to go through some of those random boxes really does open up a lot more space. And for me, it's a lot of those little things that kind of start to build up that just need to be gone through and gotten rid of. The other reason that I wanted to clean out some of the Tupperware bins is because in our closet, since changing our rooms, it's big enough for all of our stuff. But right now we have some of the summer stuff in there, like a bunch of shorts and things that we're not going to be wearing for the next several months. So I would like to move those items down here and get them out of the closet so we have a little bit more space until I figure out the best way to organize our bedroom closet. So if you have any recommendations on that, I would love to hear it. It's not a huge closet by any means, but it's certainly big enough for our stuff. I just have to figure out the best way to organize it, whether it's going with IKEA or the Container Store. I don't know yet. I'm thinking about maybe hiring someone to take a look and tell us the best way to organize it because, I don't really plan on changing it. So once we do it, I think I'd be pretty happy with whatever they come up with. So here's some items in here. I was going to go through this bucket, but a lot of this stuff is my son's from school or other things that he still wants. So I'm just going to keep those there and he can go through them when he comes home. And here is another example of just having a random box that's unnecessary. I had actually made this purchase a couple of months ago for a new vacuum, a wet dry vac. I do have one currently, but I was thinking of starting to use that one in the basement so that way I could use it downstairs and then I could use the newer one upstairs. The other one that I've had is many years old. It still works fine, but I really didn't want to use something on the cement floor and damage it. So I was thinking about maybe using the older one down there and the newer one upstairs. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. I don't know if running it over the cement would damage it. But our next plan is, and another reason that I really wanted to tackle a lot of this stuff is because we're going to be working in sections. and repainting the floor down here just so it looks nicer, and I can put some area rugs down again just to make it feel more comfortable. Since I do spend a lot of time down here, I really would like to get it cleaned up and just looking nicer and feeling nicer. So it's not done, but it's better than it was. So this stuff there I'm going to give to my husband to put into his car for winter. I've got 2 small trash bags full of trash, and then a couple things more to donate.